A girl's parents are against her marrying a nice young guy who they think is poor. So his millionaire father pretends to be broke and teaches them a lesson. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. When Sam Sutton discovered a way to make an unbreakable sealant for engines everyone wanted, he never imagined that it would one day affect the love life of his then-infant son. Well, the Sam's discovery brought immediate improvements to the family's life as it happened. He started making a lot of money on that sealant's patent. Sam, his wife, and his baby son moved to a lovely house and got a new car. As the years passed, there was more money than Sam had ever imagined. His little family was comfortable, and that's all he cared about. The extraordinary sums his lawyer kept reporting on seemed quite unreal. Then something terrible happened to Sam and his family, and all those millions piled up in the bank made no difference. Sam's wife, Rain, became very ill. Sam kept telling doctors money was no object, but they just shook their heads. There are two things in life that money can't buy: love and good health. Sam found out about the first in the most painful way when Rain passed away, and he'd find out about the second when Will grew up. Being a single dad to a growing boy wasn't easy, so maybe Sam made a few mistakes. Will was so kind, loving, and unspoiled that Sam lavished everything he could afford on him. And Sam could afford anything that so. In high school, Will's colleagues quickly realized that his dad was very rich and generous, and so was Will. Quickly, Will became the most popular guy, not because of his kindness or amazing good looks, but because of his dad's money. Girls in particular swarmed around Will like bees around a honey pot. At first, Will liked it, but gradually he realized they didn't want him. They wanted his dad's money and all the luxury it could buy. Will told weeping Sam that the girl he was in love with didn't really care for him. She just cared about going along on their private plane for the Sutton family trips to Aspen, Vail, and the Bahamas. Sam comforted his son and encouraged him to break up with that girl. The rest of Will's senior year in high school was pretty lonely, but he had a plan. "Dad," he said, "I have a plan." Sam grinned. "Oh, what's your plan?" "I'm going to Yale in the fall, but I want everyone to think I'm a scholarship student." Sam blinked in astonishment. "A scholarship student? You? But why?" "Well," Will said, "if I'm poor and I wear scruffy clothes, people won't be my friends unless they really like me. Girls won't want to date me for our money." "That's very true, Will," Sam said. "I think that's a brilliant plan." And so they put the plan in motion. Will and Sam bought all his clothes and equipment secondhand. And Will was the scruffiest, poorest-looking student you ever saw. Money can't buy love and good health. The plan worked because Will quickly found many great, sincere friends. And he even met a girl he liked, and she felt the same way too. By his third year at Yale, Will was so in love with that girl. Her name was Eddie, for Edwina, and he decided he wanted to marry her. Sam was a little worried that Will might be too young, but he married young too, and he'd been very happy that Will proposed to Eddie, and she said yes. Eddie took Will home to meet her parents that Thanksgiving, which was a disaster. Eddie's parents, Marta and Farlow, were well-to-do and proud of their social position. They wanted their beautiful daughter to marry a rich man, not a shabby third-year science major, no matter how smart, handsome, or funny. They were subtly unpleasant to Will, but not enough that Eddie could complain. Eddie, who had accepted Will's proposal, proudly displayed the tiny diamond he'd given her as if it were the Kohinoor. She insisted that Will and his father join her family for the Christmas celebrations. Marta and Fallow were horrified, but they smiled, agreed, and made their plan. Will and Sam took a Greyhound from their mansion in New Hampshire to Eddie's family's beach house in Narragansett to join the family for Christmas. Eddie's dad picked them up from the bus terminal, and the fun began. Farlow looked Sam up and down and sniffed. Sam had gone shopping at the local Goodwill store and gone a little overboard. Sam didn't look just poor. He looked almost homeless. Farlow drove them to their big house, and he talked about his wealth, his houses, and his cars. "I'll have you know," he said to Sam, "that I've done very well by my family. We live in comfort. To be honest, we live in luxury. Not everyone is used to that, of course, and we understand that, but we hope you and we'll be able to fit in. Christmas is very important to us." "It's important to us too," Sam said. As it turned out, Marta and Farlow's idea of Christmas was to splurge on towers of expensive presents and show everyone they knew how successful they were. The next few days were a nightmare. Farlow and Marta didn't miss a chance to show Sam they believed their daughter was way out of his son's league. "Eddie is a wealthy young woman, Sam," Marta said, "and her husband must be able to give her the same lifestyle. I know you've not done as well for Will." Eddie became aware of her parents' campaign to humiliate Sam, and she was furious. So she talked with her parents. "I'm going to marry Will," she said, "and Sam's going to be family, so get used to it." "But darling," cried her mother, "the man is a derelict. Have you seen his clothes? He's an embarrassment." "Believe me, Mom," Eddie said angrily, "you are much more of an embarrassment than Sam could ever be." Eddie could not have known that Sam was listening, and he smiled. She loved Will. He'd found his one-in-a-million girl. That night was Christmas Eve, and when the family gathered around the tree at midnight to exchange gifts, Marta said with an unpleasant smile, "You mustn't feel bad, Sam. We know you're struggling." Marta and Farlow handed Will a box with a car key inside. "It's an early wedding present," Farlow said. "We thought you needed a better car. Your old clunker is at least 20 years old, Will." Will smiled and thanked Marta and Farlow, and they all went outside to admire the Porsche sitting in the garage with a big red bow on it. Farlow threw Sam a triumphant look and smirked. He knew that Sam could never top that gesture. Could he? Then Sam took an envelope out of his pocket. "Eddie," he said, "Will told me you two plan to move to New York when you graduate." "That's right, Sam. You know he has an offer from a New York research facility, and I have an internship at the Met. Well, finding a place to live in Manhattan isn't easy, so I hope this helps." Sam gave the envelope to Eddie. Farlow sneered. "What's that? A list of homeless shelters in the Upper East Side? A guide to the best Brooklyn soup kitchens?" Eddie opened the envelope and gasped. "Sam," she whispered, "is this for real?" She showed Will the sheaf of papers inside the envelope, and Will ran to embrace his dad. Farlow and Marta looked from one to the other in surprise. Then Eddie turned to her parents. "Sam's given Will and I the deed to a brownstone in Tribeca. He's given us a home." Marta and Farlow looked at each other, their mouths hanging open. But, gasped Farlow. "You're poor. The way you dress. You took the bus?" "Well, Farlow," said Sam gently, "I want my son to be loved and accepted for himself, not for the $570 million he will eventually inherit from me." There were no more objections to the wedding from Eddie's parents. In fact, they became Will's biggest fans and were very polite and respectful of Sam. The following summer, Will and Eddie married and moved to New York. When they welcomed their little daughter, Rain, 3 years later, Sam bought himself a house next door so he could be close to them. What can we learn from this story? Write in comments.